Nicki Minaj has turned the skies into her runway. From her $65 million jet wrapped in beige leather to her $72 million Gulfstreams with bedrooms and galleys, and a $62 million Bombardier boasting a queen bed. Now her $25 million pink Barbie jet tops it all. Let's get inside. From renting to riding high, Nicki's early jet life. When you think of Nicki Minaj, you think of extravagance. This is the same woman who rapped about monster verses, strutted into the rap game with wigs that looked like they could power an entire neon district, and crowned herself the queen of rap with no apologies. So naturally, when it came to her travel, coach class with crying babies and bags stuffed in the overhead bin was never going to cut it. For Nicki, the only way to fly was private, and not just private, but with flair, with attitude, with the kind of luxury that screams, "This is what success looks like." But here's the thing, Nicki's jet story isn't just about flying in style. It's a timeline of her rise, her branding, and her dominance in hip-hop. From the moment she was first spotted on a $65 million jet back in 2017 to the family flights she took years later, every trip has been a statement. And in this part of the story, we're going to break down the evolution of her jet life, how it started with charters, shifted into Gulfstream models, and became part of her global persona. The first real introduction of Nicki into the world of jet ownership happened in 2017. She had already reached the level of fame where fans expected luxury, but this moment crystallized it. That year, she was photographed and filmed using what was described as a $65 million private jet. Reports at the time called it one of the largest and fastest private jets money could buy. Fans saw her dressed in a sleek black outfit, her hair platinum blonde, descending from the massive jet like she was stepping onto a music video set rather than a runway. The optics mattered. She wasn't just traveling, she was making an entrance. And in Nicki's world, entrances are everything. Inside that aircraft, glimpses showed interiors dripping in understated but undeniable wealth. There were creamy beige leather seats lined with polished wood, a plush patterned carpet, and pillows tossed casually across the cabin as if someone had thought, how do we make this space feel both like a penthouse and a five-star hotel? A large TV screen positioned at the back sealed the deal. This was less a jet and more a flying living room. It had all the amenities that made long-haul flights effortless. Sofas that doubled as beds, recliners set around small tables for conversation or dining, and subtle lighting that gave the place a warm glow. The way fans reacted to this flight, you'd think she had just signed a new record-breaking contract. Social media erupted. People didn't just admire the jet, they copied her moves. That same year, the Nicki Minaj challenge went viral, with fans reenacting her glamorous strut down airplane stairs, except most of them were doing it in front of grocery stores, houses, and subway entrances. It was absurd, it was hilarious, and it proved something important. Nicki wasn't just flying in a jet, she was turning private travel into pop culture. Now, whether she actually owned that particular $65 million jet in 2017, or whether it was chartered, remains a topic of debate. The language in some of the original posts said she was riding in the jet, which suggests rental. But honestly, ownership didn't matter. The fact that she was associated with a plane of that caliber sent the message she wanted. Nicki Minaj didn't just rap about wealth, she was living it. By the time the new decade rolled around, her jet game had evolved even further. In 2020, she was widely reported to have access to or ownership of a Gulfstream G5, one of the most iconic business jets in the world. A new G5 typically costs between $43 million and $72 million, though used models often still command prices in the $30 to $40 million range. The G5 isn't just expensive, it's practical luxury. It can carry up to 19 passengers and has a range of about 6,500 nautical miles, enough to fly Nicki from New York to Tokyo without a stop. For anyone else, owning a jet might seem like a ridiculous extravagance, but for an artist like Nicki, constantly flying to different cities and countries for performances, appearances, and family commitments, it makes sense. And it's not just the purchase cost, there's also the upkeep. Annual operating costs for a jet like the G5 run into millions. Fuel, hangar space, flight crews who can cost $15,000 a flight, plus repairs and regular maintenance, all of it adds up to around $2.8 million a year, assuming you're flying 400 hours. That's a number that would sink most millionaires. For Nicki, it was simply another line item in the budget of being a superstar. The interiors of the G5 continued her preference for understated elegance. Plush beige leather seating, private bedrooms for overnight flights, fully equipped galleys for proper dining, and a bathroom with all the amenities you'd expect in a luxury apartment. One look at it and you could tell this wasn't just about transportation, it was about lifestyle. In 2021, Nicki gave fans an even more intimate glimpse into her private jet life when she traveled with her family in a Gulfstream Ivor. This jet was slightly older and valued in the $20 to $30 million range, but what made it special was how she used it. She flew with her husband Kenneth Petty and their son, who, as fans joked, was living a more luxurious life in diapers than most adults ever would. This wasn't just Nicki flexing for the cameras, it was Nicki showing that private aviation was also about family, safety, and keeping her child comfortable while hopping from one city to another. Then came 2022, when Nicki was spotted flying in a Gulfstream G550, a jet worth between $40 and $50 million. This time, she credited Drake for providing it, even joking mid-flight that he was a billionaire. The G550 is one of Gulfstream's flagship models, capable of traveling over 6,750 nautical miles, and it can comfortably seat 19 passengers. The interiors are famously spacious, with configurations that include dining areas, lounges, and sleeping quarters. It's the type of plane designed for celebrities who live half their lives on the move. By this point, Nicki's relationship with private jets had become more than convenience. It was part of her brand identity. Fans knew her as the rap queen who could turn a simple boarding video into a meme. She had shown jets as family spaces, as performance tools, and as canvases for her fashion. For Nicki, stepping onto a jet wasn't just about going somewhere. It was about being seen in the act of going. The interiors of her jets during these years followed a similar design philosophy. Beige and cream colors dominated, with wood paneling and ambient lighting that gave the space a timeless, classy feel. Large windows bathed the cabin in natural light, while plush seating areas created mini living rooms in the sky. In some configurations, you could find divans that converted into beds, widescreen TVs for entertainment, and a galley where chefs could prepare full meals. It was a complete home away from home, except this home could cruise at 45,000 feet and move across continents in a matter of hours. Fans ate it up. Social media was filled with screenshots, memes, and posts about her flights. Viral captions like "Nicki owns her own jet. She allegedly paid more for it than your fave's net worth" captured the spirit of the moment. Whether or not every jet she flew on was technically owned by her was irrelevant. The imagery was enough. To fans, she was the queen who had conquered the skies. To critics, it was another example of celebrity excess. But even the critics couldn't deny one thing. Nicki knew how to use private jets as part of her storytelling. And it wasn't just about showing off wealth. It was about reinforcing an image of independence and power. Every time she descended those jet stairs in designer outfits, it reinforced her narrative. She wasn't just riding trends, she was above them, literally. The jet was a stage, and she was always the star. By the end of 2022, Nicki Minaj had solidified herself not only as a chart-topping rapper, but as a global icon whose every move was magnified. Private jets were no longer just a perk of being famous. They were a symbol of her identity. Her fans had followed her from the $65 million charter flex in 2017 through the Gulfstream G5 to the family-friendly flights in the G4 and into the luxurious G550 rides courtesy of Drake. Each phase of this evolution told a piece of the Nicki Minaj story. Ambition, family, friendship, and always the flex. But as the story moved forward, things would get turbulent, literally and figuratively. Because when 2023 and 2024 arrived, Nicki's private jet lifestyle collided with controversy, travel drama, and even international airport trouble. And one moment in Amsterdam would test just how unshakable the Queen's jet-setting image really was. Turbulence and tour life, jet drama, Amsterdam, and the pre-Pink years. By 2023, Nicki Minaj's use of private jets had shifted from being a perk of fame to being a necessity of her career. The woman who once turned descending jet stairs into a viral meme was now juggling some of the most ambitious touring schedules in the music industry. And when you're coordinating shows across multiple continents, with dancers, stylists, security, family, and crew all moving in sync, private jets are the only way to keep the machine running smoothly. Commercial airlines with their baggage rules, layovers, and security lines were never going to cut it. But with that necessity came greater scrutiny. Suddenly her jet life wasn't just about luxury. Anymore, it became the backdrop to one of the most controversial moments in her career. The centerpiece of her 2024 schedule was the Pink Friday 2 World Tour, which kicked off in March and became her biggest global endeavor to date. With nearly 80 shows spread across North America and Europe, the logistics were dizzying. Every city was a spectacle, every stop a test of endurance. Jets weren't just status symbols, they were lifelines. Without them, the tight schedule of performing night after night in different countries would have been impossible, and so her choice of aircraft became as much a part of the story as the shows themselves. One of the aircraft most closely associated with this era was a Bombardier Global 6000, a jet that represents the pinnacle of long-range private aviation. The Global 6000 has a price tag of around $62 million when new, and even used models still sell between $21.50 and $38 million depending on age and upgrades. It can cover 6,000 nautical miles without refueling, cruise quietly with noise levels as low as 52 decibels, and provide passengers with luxurious living spaces broken into 3 distinct zones. Nicki's fans caught glimpses of this jet during her European tour stops. Videos on social media showed her strutting down its illuminated stairs in July 2024, wearing a sleek black outfit that turned what could have been an anonymous arrival into a fashion moment. Other clips captured her luggage being loaded into the same model during the chaotic Amsterdam stop. Even though the interiors weren't revealed in these videos, aviation records confirmed the jet in question was registered as OY Spie, operated by FlexFlight, a Danish charter company specializing in celebrity and executive flights. Inside, jets like the Global 6000 are fitted with plush leather seats, wood-paneled tables, and a rear stateroom with a queen bed and ensuite bathroom. Cabins stretch more than 43 feet in length, with ceilings tall enough to allow passengers to move comfortably. There are conference areas where entourages can plan set lists or review contracts, entertainment systems that rival living rooms, and even onboard kitchens with the capacity to prepare full meals during a transatlantic flight. For Nicki, whose schedule required constant movement between shows, these features weren't indulgences, they were tools that kept her functioning. But on May 25, 2024, this jet became the center of a global incident. Preparing to depart from Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport en route to Manchester for her next concert, Nicki and her team boarded the Global 6000, only for Dutch authorities to suddenly intervene. Police insisted on searching the jet, claiming suspicion of undeclared items. According to their statements, they discovered a small quantity of marijuana pre-rolls. For Nicki, the timing felt suspicious. She was scheduled to perform a sold-out show in Manchester later that evening, and suddenly she was being detained in Amsterdam. Never one to keep quiet, she began live streaming the ordeal on Instagram, narrating her frustration in real time to millions of followers. In those live stream clips, you could see her surrounded by luggage and crew as she confronted the officers, questioning why she was being singled out. She insisted that she had done nothing wrong, that the pre-rolls weren't hers, and that the situation felt orchestrated. Her fans watching from around the world quickly turned the live stream into a trending topic, amplifying every word. Within hours, major outlets like NBC News and Billboard were reporting that the Queen of Rap had been arrested in Amsterdam. Dutch officials ultimately fined her about €350, roughly $380, and released her. But the ripple effects were enormous. Her Manchester concert had to be cancelled, sparking disappointment among fans who had travelled and paid to see her. Social media lit up with debates. Was this racial profiling, as Nicki suggested? Was it sabotage, as she implied when she told her fans she was being deliberately targeted? Or was it simply a case of bad luck with timing and airport protocols? The LA Times framed it as part of a larger conversation about celebrity treatment abroad, while tabloids reduced it to headlines about Nicki Minaj arrested for drugs. The fallout showed the double-edged sword of private aviation. On one hand, the Global 6000 allowed her to keep pace with an insane tour schedule. On the other, the privacy and control it promised evaporated in an instant when authorities intervened. The jet, which symbolized freedom and independence, became the stage for a public humiliation. And the irony wasn't lost on anyone. Nicki Minaj, the woman who turned boarding a plane into a meme of empowerment back in 2017, was now live streaming her frustration as strangers rifled through her belongings on that same type of tarmac. Her fans defended her fiercely, pointing out that marijuana is legal in parts of the Netherlands, and questioning why such a minor issue should derail an international superstar's tour. They circulated posts reminding people that the fine itself was minimal, evidence, they argued, that the whole ordeal was unnecessary. But critics saw it differently. To them, it was another example of celebrity culture colliding with reality, of stars who believe they can skirt laws facing the same checks as everyone else. Even outside of Amsterdam, the planes she used in 2024 became topics of debate. Some argued that she was still relying heavily on charters, pointing to the neutral exteriors of the jets she boarded during the tour. Unlike Drake's massive Air Drake Boeing 767 or Kylie Jenner's pink-accented Global 7500, Nicki's planes at this point bore no personal branding. They were sleek, understated, and indistinguishable from other corporate charters. That fed speculation that while she projected an image of private jet ownership, many of the flights were still rented. Her playful announcement in July 2025 that she had bought her first jet seemed to confirm those suspicions retroactively. But at the time, it remained a question fans debated passionately. Meanwhile, the numbers involved in her tour aviation underscored just how high the stakes were. Chartering a Global 6000 for a transatlantic leg could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, with hourly rates topping $15,000. Annual operating costs for a purchased version would still run $5 million, including fuel, hangar space, crew and maintenance. But when you consider that her Pink Friday 2 tour was grossing millions per show, those figures suddenly seemed manageable. The planes weren't just luxuries. They were part of the infrastructure of an empire. There were, of course, lighter moments. Fans delighted in seeing clips of her descending aircraft stairs during the tour, turning mundane travel into fashion walkways. They celebrated her confidence, her poise, her ability to make even a luggage-loading video look iconic. For barbs around the world, these glimpses reinforced the mythology. Nicki wasn't just an artist. She was a brand, and the private jet was part of the packaging. Every walk down the stairs became a reminder that their queen operated on a different level. But still, the Amsterdam incident lingered as a shadow over that period. It demonstrated how quickly a glamorous narrative can shift. The same jet that had made her life easier, that had allowed her to conquer continents on tour, also became the site of her most public vulnerability. It was a reminder that no amount of wealth or fame can insulate a person completely from scrutiny. By late 2024, fans and critics alike were asking the same question: what's next? Would Nicki continue chartering neutral jets, leaving skeptics to question her ownership? Would she double down on privacy, keeping her aviation choices quieter? Or would she do what she has always done, take the narrative, flip it, and make it bigger than ever? The answer came in July 2025, when she logged onto social media and typed out a sentence that would stop her fan base in its tracks. "Just bought my first jet, it's all pink. Come on losers, get in, psych, fly barbs only." With that one announcement, Nicki Minaj wasn't just clarifying ownership, she was rewriting the story. After years of speculation, after drama in Amsterdam and endless charters, she had stepped into a new era. And that moment, the reveal of what came to be known as the Pink Jet, is where the story takes its most dramatic turn. Because this wasn't just another plane, it was a statement, a branding exercise, and a cultural event all rolled into one. The arrival of the Pink Jet, Nicki's boldest flex yet. For years, people speculated. Was Nicki Minaj really the owner of all those private jets she had been photographed on? Did she truly buy that $65 million monster plane back in 2017? Or was it all a carefully curated rental fantasy? Were the Gulfstreams she flaunted in the early 2020s actually hers? Or were they borrowed, chartered, or even favors from industry friends like Drake? The lines were blurry and the debates were endless. But in July 2025, the speculation ended with a single social media post. In true Nicki fashion, it wasn't just a statement, it was a mic drop. "Just bought my first jet, it's all pink. Come on losers, get in. Psych, fly barbs only." With those words, the Queen of Rap silenced years of rumors and introduced the world to the Pink Jet. The announcement was bold, cheeky, and unmistakably Nicki. Only she could dismiss doubters while simultaneously declaring that her private plane wasn't just transportation, it was branding. She wasn't settling for some neutral-toned corporate jet with no personality. She was painting it pink inside and out and making sure everyone knew this was hers. For fans, it was validation. After years of watching her board anonymous Gulfstreams and Bombardiers, they finally had proof. Their queen had stepped into full-fledged ownership, and she did it in the loudest, most unapologetic way possible. Reports pegged the price of the Pink Jet at a staggering $25 million. That figure placed it below the massive Boeing 767S of global superstars like Drake, but far above the costs of standard celebrity charters. For context, Kylie Jenner's jet, a Global 7500, was estimated at $72 million, while Taylor Swift's Dassault Falcon 900 was valued at around $40 million. Nicki's Pink Jet wasn't the most expensive in celebrity circles, but it was arguably the most on brand. Pink wasn't just a color choice, it was her signature, her aesthetic, her Barbie persona embodied in metal and jet fuel. The reveal images and descriptions painted a vivid picture. On the exterior, the plane gleamed in a glossy shade of pastel pink, with accents that popped against the white of the engines and wings. It looked less like a corporate tool and more like a flying accessory straight out of her wardrobe. The interior carried the same theme, with pink leather seats, pink carpeting, pink lighting, and even pink pillows. Everything screamed Barbiecore, but with a luxury twist. It was equal parts playful and opulent, exactly the balance Nicki has mastered throughout her career. This wasn't just about color, it was about control. She had taken an aircraft, a symbol of power and wealth, and remade it entirely in her image. And make no mistake, this was more than a toy. A $25 million jet is a serious machine. While exact model details weren't disclosed in the announcement, industry speculation pointed to a customized mid-size to long-range business jet, something in the class of a Gulfstream G450 or a Bombardier Challenger. These models typically seat between 12 and 16 passengers, feature cruising speeds near 560 miles per hour, and have ranges long enough to carry her entourage across the Atlantic. Outfitted with a stateroom, galley, full bathroom and entertainment systems, the Pink Jet wasn't just about pink accents. It was a high-performing aircraft capable of supporting her grueling schedule while doubling as a private sanctuary. Fans went wild. The Barbs flooded social media with celebration memes and declarations that their queen had outdone every other celebrity in hip-hop. Owning the Pink Jet became a symbol not just of wealth but of independence. Where critics had once dismissed her as simply chartering planes for image, she now had a customized aircraft that carried her stamp. Every detail, from the exterior paint to the seat embroidery, reinforced her brand identity. For the Barbs, this was proof of her staying power. For Nicki, it was a declaration. She wasn't just riding along in borrowed luxury, she was the captain of her own narrative. Of course, the announcement also sparked comparisons. Drake's Air Drake, a massive Boeing 767 gifted by Cargojet, remained in a league of its own. Kylie Jenner's $72 million Global 7500, with its expansive cabin and long-haul capabilities, was still technically more valuable. But Nicki's Pink Jet held an advantage they couldn't replicate. It was perfectly hers. Drake's jet, while iconic, is oversized and lacks personal branding beyond its exterior logos. Kylie's jet, for all its price, blends into the sea of white and beige corporate designs. Nicki's, on the other hand, is instantly recognizable. You don't have to ask whose jet it is. One look at the color and you know. It belongs to the woman who called herself Barbie long before Barbiecore became a trend. Naturally, skeptics raised questions. Some wondered whether the $25 million price tag was exaggerated, pointing out that custom paint jobs and luxury interiors on used jets could bring costs significantly lower. Others debated whether she had bought the plane outright or financed it through partnerships, as many celebrities do. But again, the details mattered less than the spectacle. Nicki knew how to play the game. She wasn't simply announcing a purchase, she was creating a cultural moment. By leaning into the pink aesthetic, by inviting her fans to imagine boarding with her, by jokingly excluding losers, she turned an ownership reveal into a performance. The Pink Jet also carried deeper symbolic weight. It arrived on the heels of her Amsterdam arrest the year before, an incident that had placed her private travel under a cloud of controversy. That ordeal highlighted the vulnerability of charter life, relying on external operators, dealing with airport authorities, lacking full control. Buying the Pink Jet wasn't just about luxury, it was about reclaiming autonomy. With her own customized jet, she could dictate terms, control the narrative, and reinforce her status as someone who answers to no one. It was the ultimate response to the skeptics who had doubted her, or the authorities who had tried to derail her. And the humor in her announcement shouldn't be overlooked either. By quipping "fly barbs only," she turned what could have been an arrogant flex into an inside joke with her fan base. It wasn't just her jet, it was theirs. She positioned the Pink Jet not as a distant display of wealth, but as a shared symbol of triumph. For the Barbs, it became proof that their loyalty to her was rewarded with representation at the highest levels of fame. The economics of such a purchase also added intrigue. Owning a jet costs far more than the sticker price. Annual expenses can climb into the millions. Fuel, hangar fees, crew salaries, insurance, and maintenance all pile up. For a $25 million aircraft, yearly operating costs likely hover around $3 to $5 million. Critics questioned whether this was sustainable, but Nicki's career earnings, endorsements, and touring revenues suggested she could manage it. Her Pink Friday 2 World Tour alone grossed enough to cover years of jet expenses. The Pink Jet wasn't a reckless purchase, it was an investment in her image and her comfort. In interviews following the reveal, commentators couldn't help but point out how perfectly the jet fit her trajectory. She had started with viral memes on a $65 million rental, graduated to Gulfstreams and family flights, weathered controversy in Amsterdam, and then emerged in 2025 with a fully customized plane. It was a narrative arc, as dramatic as her music. From the outside, it looked like a culmination of her brand, a Barbie queen finally given a Barbie jet. But for Nicki, it was another chapter. The Pink Jet wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a new era where she controlled the skies as confidently as she controlled the charts. Reactions across the industry were mixed. Fans adored it, but critics argued it was tone deaf in a world increasingly concerned about climate change and emissions. Private jets are among the most scrutinized symbols of celebrity excess, and celebrities from Taylor Swift to Leonardo DiCaprio have faced backlash for their aviation choices. Nicki, by painting hers pink and flaunting it proudly, was daring critics to come for her, and some did. Social media threads accused her of flaunting wealth while ignoring environmental costs, but her fans drowned out the noise, insisting that their queen had every right to enjoy the fruits of her labor. Beyond the debates, one thing was undeniable. The pink jet cemented Nicki's place in the conversation about celebrity aviation. She didn't have the biggest jet, but she had the most recognizable one. She didn't spend the most money, but she spent it in the most Nicki way possible, transforming a business tool into a cultural icon. It became clear that this wasn't just a purchase. It was a marketing strategy, a meme factory, and a flex rolled into one. And so, the arc of Nicki Minaj's private jet journey reached its crescendo. From 2017's viral stair descents, to the Gulfstream family flights, to Amsterdam's drama, and finally to the pastel pink sanctuary unveiled in 2025, her jet story encapsulated her career. Ambitious, dramatic, sometimes chaotic, but always unforgettable. For Nicki, the pink jet wasn't just transportation. It was proof that no matter the turbulence, she would always land on her feet, preferably in stilettos, descending stairs lit up in pink. If you enjoyed watching this video, then go ahead and click on any of the cards on your screen for more.